Welcome back to the show, everybody. We have a great one for you this morning. Price is the story of the day. Right now, sitting at $1.26. Guess who's out for a stroll? That's right, it's XRP. Let's just go ahead and roll this beautiful intro because there's more than just price for good news this morning. Let's talk about it.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at @BackupBradleyAbove at the top of the screen, and everything that we're talking about here today. So close to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Hit that like and subscribe, and make sure you follow us on Twitter. A lot of news that we cover is not in this channel and the videos. There's so much out there. Make sure you follow us in both places. All right, this morning's numbers are brought to you by Crypto Tax Audit. Clinton Donnelly, everybody. If you're not sure what to do about your crypto taxes, make sure you contact Clinton Donnelly at cryptotaxaudit.com. There's a link in the description. All right, Bitcoin right now at 53,600 plus, Ethereum at 2,400 plus, and XRP at the number 4 spot at 125, 126, back and forth right now. We are up 18.60% on the 24 hour. How about that one? How about that one? I like seeing it. I can tell you that much. All right, so let's go ahead and get through this. Let's look at the range because this is important. We're going to really look at what the calls have been from the technical analysts, which I feel really are chart experts at this point. They have been nailing these things to the wall, and it's just impressive to watch. And here we are ranging between 95 cents and $1.27, sitting at $1.2559 now. This is really important to note. We're going to look at some of those calls that have been made and what they're suggesting could happen from here in just a couple seconds. Let's keep this moving. Ladies and gentlemen, crypto's changing the world, blockchain's changing the world, and it's starting right here. And it really fills my heart to tell you that NFTs are absolutely changing the world and bringing intellectual property ownership back to the artist. Okay, and that to me is just massive. We have seen the beautiful birth of the internet. And one of the things that have really been a watershed moment, leaving it on the floor behind, was music and art. And that has been a detriment to artists around the world because they lose the ability to make revenue off of their intellectual property due to streaming and digital downloads and what people like to call file sharing, which is a polite way of saying we stole it, right? So here we start to see a way for that to change. Eminem partners with Gemini's nifty gateway to launch his first NFT, but I want to tell you about something that I'm extremely excited about. This is not a sponsor, let me be very clear, and I got into this because I love music, and I think this is where it's going. This is bandroyalty.com. There's 8 days left before they launch the musical royalty art NFTs. If you think NFTs, pictures of celebrities and sports figures, athletes and things like that are really cool and really neat as collectibles and almost like a modern version of collecting baseball cards and things of that nature, you're right. But this goes one step further. This is BAMRoyalty.com. And here you can see you get beautiful artwork of artists here, which looks three-dimensional to me when it turns. It's absolutely amazing. But what happens is if you were to buy an NFT token, this gives you an option to participate in some of the different royalty pools from the song catalog that they have at bandroyalty.com. And you can participate in the printed music royalty pool, the mechanical performance royalty pool, which would be like YouTube plays, Spotify streaming plays, downloads, things of that nature, or synchronization royalty plays, which would be like background music for movies, commercials, and things of that nature. So one NFT would allow you to participate in one of these three pools. So if you had 3 NFTs, you could participate in all 3 pools. This, to me, is where things are going. And ask me why. Well, I'm glad you asked why. And it's because now the artists that we're looking at, and these are some of the artists that they have: Rihanna, Justin Timberlake, Jay-Z, Britt Smith, Jane Zhang, and Beyonce. I mean, this is remarkable, the catalog that they have here. And I have to say, what's amazing about this, what's different about this, one, it's an NFT that has utility. not just something to look at and set on your shelf in a man cave. This is actual utility with this that allows you to participate in a music royalty earning pool that is a part of this song catalog that bandroyalty.com has licensed, which means the artist can ultimately, over time, switch to a model like this and tell their fans, hey, why don't you buy a token and you can earn royalties off my song with me? Yeah, that's a game changer, ladies and gentlemen, and I am absolutely participating in that. And I can tell you, I couldn't be more excited. And just like I'm excited about this, I covered this in the first video this morning, but it's so big, you got to make a mention about it again. JP Morgan is now getting in the crypto game, and they're preparing to offer an actively managed Bitcoin fund to their private wealth clients after years of saying, if you buy or hold crypto and you work for JP Morgan, they'll fire you. Well, they've turned on a dime. Now they're ready to make money off of it. Here we see Quantum Fund co-founder Jim Rogers, a very, very successful, famous investor, has said that governments could ban cryptocurrencies. He says if cryptocurrencies become successful, most governments will outlaw them because they don't want to lose their monopoly, he said. He's exactly right. But I think what we're looking at here is the potential to see a designation of said digital assets that doesn't challenge legal tender status fiat money. Government-backed dollars is what I'm talking about. If there's a classification internationally and then domestically in respective countries, I think you could see the ability to use these cryptocurrencies / digital assets and have a designation to them that doesn't have them competing with physical fiat money, and even when it's digitized as a central bank digital currency. That dog doesn't hunt. I've been saying this for a very long time, but I think it comes down to that designation, that classification. And that's why I feel like we desperately need a uniform regulatory framework like the Token Taxonomy Act would work great here in the United States for some of that clarification. Now, looking here, this is also the other problem with Bitcoin and proof of work. This is from the World Economic Forum. I've had people tell me, Brad, when are we going to stop talking about the energy consumption of Bitcoin? And you know what I say? When we find out exactly what the regulators and governments are going to do about the electric use of Bitcoin and the consumption, the electric consumption that it takes to mine a Bitcoin or process a transaction. I just want to highlight a couple things here just because it lets you know the massive amount of draw that it has. It says here, can the world afford Bitcoin? Cryptocurrency is enjoying some of the resurgence in investment, and central banks weighed its benefits and cause its value to balloon. But generating Bitcoin requires a truly staggering amount of energy. The electricity used in a single Bitcoin transaction, for instance, could power a house for a month. And Bitcoin mining, the process itself of generating a Bitcoin, now consumes the same amount of electricity every year as Denmark. Did you hear what I just said? Knowing that the World Economic Forum has released this information, right? We're talking about the Great Reset. You think the Great Reset has us using the kind of digital money that really takes up as much electricity as an entire country like Denmark? I'll let you figure that one out on your own. Sorry about that. Before we go on any further, I want to take you guys to a piece of information that I actually found from John Deaton, who just released this about an hour ago, and I wanted to work it into this video because it is absolutely so appropriate to the information we just went over about Bitcoin. This is the SEC commissioner, former commissioner of the SEC, Joseph Grunfest, who, by the way, has sat down with Brad Garlinghouse years ago at Stanford for an incredible interview. You can find that on YouTube. But I want you to hear this very, very important 4 minutes of Joseph Grunfest talking about Bitcoin and how he sees it from the Howey test, the 4-prong Howey test. And I think you will be shocked at what he says. Listen to this.
What is Bitcoin? How does it work? Nobody was thinking about Bitcoin when they came up with the definition of the term security. But there she is. That's the definition. You're going to have to learn to work with that. You can't make Bitcoin go away. how are we going to have these two regimes communicate? Sometimes Bitcoin can be a security, and sometimes it won't be a security. You haven't had any court, you haven't had the SEC take a position with regard to whether Bitcoin itself is a security or not. We know that if you have a partnership and the partnership buys Bitcoin, then that partnership can be exactly like a partnership that buys a horse. And in that situation, your interest in the partnership that owns the Bitcoin, that's a security. That's not complicated at all. But the more interesting question that the courts and the SEC haven't yet looked at is the challenge of whether the Bitcoin itself is a security. And there, the answer, I think, is a resounding sometimes. Now, I think the SEC hasn't taken a position on it yet because it doesn't have to. All of the problems that the SEC has run into up until this point, they've been able to handle all of those issues within the four corners of existing precedent. Nothing has forced the SEC carefully and aggressively to examine the more difficult question of whether and when Bitcoin is a security. To determine whether Bitcoin is or isn't a security, you apply what lawyers call the investment contract test. Is there an investment of money? Is there an expectation of profit? Is there something that's called commonality? And are you relying on the efforts of others? Well, when you use Bitcoin to buy a cup of coffee on campus here at Coupa Cafe, there's no expectation of profit. You know, you're not relying on the efforts of others for any of your return. There's nothing that the lawyers call commonality. So when you use Bitcoin for a cup of coffee, that's not a securities transaction, and that's not a security. So the securities laws would have nothing to do with that.
Let me pause that right there for a second, because the reality is that a Bitcoin transaction directly to a merchant would take too long to settle for it to even be something that is viable at a coffee shop for that cup of coffee. So what he's saying is correct. But if you look at the actual understanding of Bitcoin and the length of time it takes to settle, he said a cup of coffee for Bitcoin. That's the transaction. However, what do we know is set up right now as far as PayPal? PayPal is a payment app. You can use it places. And the reality is you can spend your Bitcoin that you hold in your PayPal account, but you're not paying that merchant with Bitcoin. You are having a cash exchange happen for the amount of Bitcoin of that cup of coffee being traded and sold on your behalf, so you can have the cash equivalent be given to the merchant. This is very, very important, and it's why I talk about central bank digital currency so very often, because they are the on and off ramps. And I believe what he is telling you softly here is that Bitcoin and most all cryptocurrencies will be considered securities in his eyes. Now, obviously, this is coming from a former SEC commissioner, but if they do, in fact, classify these things as securities because you buy them, you hold them with the expectation of value, whether it be from the work of miners on a network or whether it be the work of other companies using the said asset like XRP customers and inflating the value by bringing their daily payment flows onto the network. That, to the SEC and this former SEC commissioner, is in fact a security. Keep listening.
On the other hand, suppose you go on the internet and you buy $200,000 of Bitcoin and you stick it in your electronic wallet and you're going to hold it there for 4 or 5 years thinking that Bitcoin will double or triple. Well, under those circumstances, it's very easy to describe that transaction as involving the purchase and sale of a security. You've got investment of money. You've got an expectation of profit. You're relying on the efforts of others. The others here are the miners that, in effect, have to operate the Bitcoin system in order to validate every transaction. We know that we can package interests in Bitcoin so that those interests are securities. That's easy. But the interesting question is, and the law hasn't gotten here yet, is Bitcoin itself a security? I think Bitcoin's future in the United States is potentially quite different than it is outside the United States. I think Bitcoin's going to run.
Did you hear what he said? I think the Bitcoin's future inside the United States is much different than how it goes outside. That is a huge lean in. Now, I know this is a former commissioner, but he is saying some very, very important things here that I think we all need to weigh very heavily about this entire crypto space. And shout out again to John E. Deaton, who has absolutely been straight fire for providing information and supporting the XRP holders out here as investors. It's just remarkable. Listen.
Run into real hurdles, becoming a mechanism for exchange that'll be broadly accepted in the United States.
So real hurdles for it becoming a mechanism that is broadly accepted as money in the United States, because the governments of the world aren't going to support the notion. That's why I've been telling you central bank digital currencies will be the on and off ramps. The highway is already built. The Flare networks, the XRP ledger, which is a decentralized exchange, can exchange all of these things for fiat money and settle them and keep the governments and the central banks in control, relevant, and powerful.
If you're going to try to, move value from a place like, United Arab Emirates to the Philippines, or, you want to move value from Indonesia to Pakistan, you can imagine many of these different systems working well in that kind of an environment. Whether they're going to wind up working well in the United States with all of our know your customer regulations, banking regulations, anti-money laundering regulations, Regulation E, securities laws, and the like, I'm skeptical about whether that technology is going to be able to get traction once you load that technology on with all of the legal compliance that's really necessary to work in the United States.
And there you have it. I don't think you could say it any better than he did. And let's get back now to the rest of the video. That was so important. Again, shout out to John Deaton. Let's listen and celebrate some of these incredible technical analysts who have been spot on lately with the calls on XRP movement and what is in store for us. Here we see, let's get into the numbers and the calls that we have seen from some of these technical analysts, because price is the talk of the day here, ladies and gentlemen. 125 been as high as 127 this morning, and it happened moments ago. But let's go ahead and get into this, because what we saw, and this was from yesterday, just to align with what we're talking about here, and to show that these chart analysts here have been making the calls before they happen. And I tell you, I find that to be extremely impressive, and I want to celebrate each one of them. This is a bullish reversal zone for XRP from yesterday's calls. It says we should get bullish breakout above the blue trend line, XRP to BTC, which will push XRP above 120 towards 148. That was yesterday. No one was thinking that was going to happen yesterday, but Crypto Wizard did. And you know what else? Here's Dark Defender, who was talking about this, and he shared his, from 2 days ago, his chart that we covered here, where he talked about it going down into the 93 support range. And it could even have another reversal towards $1, which it did last night, because this is from 2 days ago, this original post on the 24th. And he says, hi there again, XRP has monumentally touched 93 cents where we expected. It's written right there, right? If we see a change to the below, I will inform you. However, it seems we're following the expected path. And see, this is something I like too. It's like, if we see the change, because it's acknowledging that the chart is a living, breathing document of buyers and sellers, and that can change at any time. And I love that kind of candidness from these analysts. Here we see Crypto Bull 2020, who told us yesterday that the XRP USD, XRP BTC, Bitcoin, total altcoin market cap, all in a falling wedge, which is most likely to break out to the upside. From a technical perspective, it's hard to fathom the market will break down. And so far right now, we're at 125. We are back on the run. So it is pretty impressive what these gentlemen have been able to do. And again, this is the most recent here this morning. And it says, hi there again. XRP touched the 93 cents. And obviously, we're following the expected path at this point. And if we just take a look at this chart to understand what the expected path is from this point, from that 93 cents, it's on and up from here. And they say, Dark Defender says here that from the Heikinashi charts, And that's another thing I love is that these analysts are using these things from all over different charting tools, and they're coming up with the same conclusion. Look around April 29th before XRP can break out the triangle and really go to the journey to the next all-time high. That's going to do it for me. Actually, before I do get out of here, I want to show you this before you go. And it's actually an article I thought was really great about Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse saying over 80 central banks are looking into the potential of central bank digital currencies. And they have been having conversations with many central banks. Brad Garlinghouse said Ripple has onboarded 20 plus customers since the SEC filed the XRP lawsuit. And to me, that coupled with the fundamentals of the chart and understanding even that clip that I just played from you from the former SEC Commissioner Joseph Grunfest, and thank him for his comments for sure. I think that we are on a path to really seeing a birth of this digital asset space truly be defined. And I don't think it gets defined without the government dollars of the world getting digitized and tokenized and becoming the on and off ramp, because I don't believe they're going to allow it to be Bitcoin or anything else. You may sit in the middle of something. You may be sitting in the middle like a bridge asset like XRP, but I don't believe, and it doesn't mean you won't be able to convert XRP to cash for other people and send people things, but I think at the end of the day, this all starts and ends with government money being digitized, which is CBDCs, and the bridge currency being XRP, because they continue to expand the operations of Ripple and the use and implementation of the XRP ledger at the very least, even while this lawsuit with the SEC is happening. That's going to do it for me. And make sure you check out link 2 right here. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no more excuses. There is no more excuses. You have to be accredited to buy these SPVs of these companies. This is private equity, but you don't have to meet the criteria financially. Okay? You can take the exam FX test, and it is available in the comment section, and you get a coupon code when you register with link 2. They will help you get what you need to be set up to take that test. Make sure you sign up and reach out to them. There are no more excuses. Take hold of your future, pass that test, become Series 65 compliant, and buy whatever you want. That's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below, share with somebody you know, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Make sure you check out all the links in the description box in the comment section. They are trusted, vetted links. I'll catch all of you on the next one.